I've been sleeping in this van for over a year now, and I have had a total of 0 knocks from the police and only 1 person trying to serial kill me. So I'd say I'm doing pretty well. All too often I'm asked how and where I park my van overnight. So I just wanted to make this video to quickly explain some of my most important tips around finding a safe place to park. A lot of my parking is near the beach in Southern California, so it's a lot more urban and suburban kind of dwelling. If you guys are out in the boonies and BLM land or whatever, you're generally good to go. I think the rule for BLM land is just that you have to move every 14 days. Other than that, you're allowed to be there. So if you guys are struggling with that somehow, I don't really know what to tell you. So the focus of this video is going to be how you can park in an urban or suburban environment without getting bothered by anybody. Tip number 2, just kidding. Could you imagine if we started with number 2? All right, tip number 1 is look for signs. Oftentimes public parking, especially in the suburbs, especially near the beach, there will be signs that say no parking from this time to this time on Tuesdays or Thursdays, or street sweeping Wednesday morning, no street parking, something to that effect. Look for those warning signs, look for those no parking signs, be aware and be observant, because those can tell you a ton. All too often I'm driving around at night looking for a nice place to park, and then I find the perfect spot. I'm like, there's this nice stretch of road, there's no cars parked on the side, and I roll down the road 50, 100 feet, and then I see the sign and it says no parking from whatever 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Monday through Friday. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. There's no street parking here allowed. That's why there's no cars on this road. So something to look for. Tip number 2 kind of goes in with tip number 1, and it's, are there other vehicles parked on the road? If there are no other vehicles parked on the road, ask yourself why. Maybe you just got lucky and found yourself an empty road, but there's probably a strong possibility that you shouldn't be parked there for a variety of reasons, and any of those reasons will probably get you a good knock in the middle of the night. Just because there are other cars parked on the street, though, also doesn't mean that it's a safe choice necessarily, which brings me back to point 1, look for signs. There was one night I was down at the beach in San Diego, and I rolled into a super crowded street. Every street was packed, and I finally found a spot where I could park in another crowded street. So I rolled in at probably about midnight. I parked my van. I threw my curtains closed because I wasn't using window covers at the time. And I was awakened. I think that's it. I was awakened at like 6 a.m., maybe 5 a.m. It was very early though, by a street sweeper directly behind my van. And when I looked through my windshield, there were no other cars on the street. So apparently everybody had the memo to bail for the street sweeping but me, which is fine. I managed to get out of there. I don't know if they called the police or parking enforcement or something, but I managed to get out of there before old Dalton got a ticket. So yeah, be aware of signs, look for other cars parked on the street. Tip number 3, and this is one of the more valuable ones in my opinion, try to avoid parking directly in front of somebody's house. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with a lot of cops, and I like to pick their brains on this matter, and they've all kind of told me the same thing. If someone's not calling to complain about you, they're not just going to go out of their way to hassle you. Nobody's just going around looking for vans parked on the street to hassle. However, the second someone calls and says, hey, there's this creepy van or sketchy van, or they're parked where they're not supposed to be, I think somebody's in there, this, that, and the other, then they're going to come and they're going to knock on your door, and you may or may not have a problem. So stay out of people's line of sight, and they don't care. What I look for in a suburban neighborhood are these long stretches of road where it'll just be like the side of someone's house. So maybe like their side fence running along, or maybe some hedges running along the side of the road, where I'm not going to be directly in front of somebody's living room window, because they're probably not going to be very happy about that. Out of sight, out of mind, right? Which brings us to tip number 4. Roll up after dark if you can. Once the sun sets, people are generally going to be in their homes, they're relaxing, they're whatever. They're not outside looking to see if any vans are rolling into their neighborhood, rather. They're doing their own thing, and so more than likely they're going to leave you alone. You sneak in like a ninja under the cover of darkness, nobody sees you roll in, and you're good to go. However, if you're already parked there during the daytime, people are getting home from work and they're like, hey, what's the deal with that big creepy van outside? You're increasing your chances of having somebody issue a complaint or call the cops to check out what's going on here, which, you know, we don't want. And speaking of your creepy van, the less creepy you can look, the better. Which brings us to tip 5. Take care of your van. Do not let your van just turn into some dilapidated shithole that looks like a drug den. Think you own a house, your kids play outside or whatever, and there's a van that rolls in and it's super nice, it's clean, it's taken care of. People will probably think, oh, there's some adventurous free spirit person in there. They're doing some traveling. Let's go ask them. Maybe they have some stories. Let's go make friends. Cool. Now you have a rusty, dirty van. Maybe your rear bumper's hanging off a little bit. You got trash bags in the windows. They're going to be like, oh, cool, that's like a mobile drug den or a kidnapper. I definitely don't want my kids around that. Let's call the cops and get them to go somewhere else. When I studied criminology in college, there was a theory called the broken window theory. And that essentially posited that if a window went unfixed in a neighborhood, hence it stayed broken, it was a sign to criminals that this neighborhood isn't kind of looked after, it isn't taken care of, and it would increase the rates of crime. Versus these cities or neighborhoods that sort of focused on the beautification, they wouldn't let these broken windows, these bad paints or graffiti or anything go untreated. It was a sign to criminals or wrongdoers that there's people watching, people care about this, people are taking care of this area, so they would be incentivized, the criminals would be incentivized to go look for another neighborhood that wasn't watched so carefully. The broken window theory. I might have done a bad job explaining it there. But basically, don't let your van be the broken window theory. You want your van to be a nice, clean window. So where you might have the adventurous person, they got some cool stories, let's go meet them. Then the other busted up van, they're like, they might have hepatitis, let's not meet them. I don't know. Tip number 6. Don't park in the same spot 2 nights in a row. People pay a lot of money for their homes and they do not want to see your van set up permanent residence right outside their house. They probably don't even want to see you set up permanent residence in their neighborhood. I have a habit of not parking in the same place more than twice in a month. I would say at least don't do it twice in a week to be safe. You don't want people to recognize you. You don't want to build that habit or that routine, because then people are going to be more incentivized to complain about you. If somebody's just passing through, oh cool, there's a van parked out there, they'll be gone tomorrow, it's fine, no big deal, is way different than I've seen this van 4 out of the last 7 days. They don't belong here. What are they doing? Let's call the police to get them looked at and have them move on their merry way, or get themselves a nice ticket. I don't know. Depends on your city or state's laws, I guess. Tip numero 7. That's number 7 for you non-Spanish speakers. I shouldn't even have to say this really, but don't leave any trace that you were there. Don't pour your piss jug on the side of the road. Don't leave trash outside your van. Clean up after yourself. And again, think like you're a ninja. Disappear without a trace. We want to leave no trace for our enemies. I was parked at literally a parking lot at the beach in San Diego here, and I saw this dude get out of his like Hyundai hatchback or whatever with a liter bottle full of piss, and then he just dumped it into the planter bed. And I'm like, dude, you are the reason that cities will pass laws against van life. You're being a dredge on society. The bathroom was like a 30-second walk away. Go walk your lazy ass to the restroom, pour your piss down the toilet like a normal human who lives in their car, and let's just look after each other. Let's clean up after ourselves. Don't be disgusting. I shouldn't even have to say this, but there might be somebody watching this that guy might be watching it, who pours his piss on the side of the road. Don't do it, dude. Like, nobody ever taught you to clean up after yourself. You're giving everybody a bad rap, and we don't like bad raps here. Back to the theme of being a ninja. Tip number 8, make yourself invisible. You don't want people to know that you're in your van or your car or whatever it is you're in. The second I roll into a spot, I grab my window covers and I put them in every single window I have before I even turn on a light. I'll do it in the dark, and I've done it enough times I can feel my way through the dark, or there will be some ambient light coming in that lets me see enough. But I don't want anybody to know I'm here. Keep it dark until the windows are covered, and then once they're covered, I even usually use my lights on a dimmer setting to make sure there's no light kind of showing through any cracks in the windows. I'm not blasting loud music. I'm not making lots of noise. If I'm watching a show on my computer, I keep it quiet. We just don't want to be noticed. People should walk by and they're like, there might be somebody in there, but there might not. I can't really tell. We don't want someone to walk by and hear your loud music or see your lights and go, oh, someone's in there. I don't like the idea of someone living right outside my house. Call the cops. We at least want to create that plausible deniability. Maybe we're in there, but maybe we're not. I used to just have curtains that I would kind of close over my like bulkhead, if you will, my front driver compartment to separate it from the back. Then I woke up one night and some dude was staring at me through my windshield. I already referenced it in this video, but I'll link it right, I think right up here. Or is it up here? Might be up here. I don't know. It'll be linked somewhere at the top there. But yeah, I woke up and a dude was staring at me. I'm not going to give any more spoilers than that. Go watch the video yourself if you want to know. But it was probably the freakiest moment that I've had. Actually, without a doubt, it was the freakiest moment I've had in my van thus far. And it's gotten freaky in here, so.
Nice.
Anyway. So about places to park, I already kind of mentioned this. If I'm in a suburb, I like to park along a long stretch of road where there's just hedges or maybe someone's side or backyard fence. I don't want to be right in front of somebody's house if I can avoid it. Obviously, Walmarts are an option. You know, a lot of people will stay there. Some Walmarts don't allow it, but I think most do. I've had success staying in the parking lot of 24-hour gyms, any gym that operates through the night. I only do this if I'm a member there, though, so I go in, I'll work out, I'll shower, and then I just cruise back into my van. I've done this a bunch of times and haven't really had any problems. Something to be mindful of is probably park in the back of the parking lot out of sight from the person working the front desk, because again, we don't want to draw attention to ourselves. We don't want someone working the front desk, looking out there and seeing us there all night long. Another great place to park is apartment overflow. If you find an apartment building, odds are their like designated parking fills up, and so people with extra cars will park out on like the main street somewhere right around the apartment building. You can slide right into there and people driving by would be none the wiser. You're probably just somebody who's in there to visit your friend or your drug dealer or something. You're not actually living in the van parked on the side of the street right there, right? And one last rule that's totally helped me out, and this is less in terms of getting hassled and more in terms of getting a good night's sleep, is find level ground to park on. Take the extra 2 or 3 minutes to find a spot that's really level and flat. If you haven't spent much time sleeping in a vehicle or sleeping in your van, it may be shocking to see how much of like the slightest little incline can totally ruin your night of sleep. Like I'll literally feel like a tendency, like my body just wants to roll and start tumbling down a hill, even on a super slight slope, and it makes getting a good night's rest impossible. So yeah, take those few minutes, find a nice flat piece of ground to park on. So to recap the most important points here, survey your surroundings and be aware. Are there any signs posted that say don't park here? Am I directly in front of someone's house? If you are, find another spot. Point 2, sneak in after dark. If nobody knows I'm here, am I really here? You know, think like a ninja. You're freaking Naruto out there trying to evade Orochimaru, okay? I don't know if anyone will get that reference. And the third key point is keep your van clean. Don't look sketchy, just look nice, and people are going to be a lot less incentivized to call the police on you. If you guys think I missed any really key parking tips, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm still trying to learn and improve this whole process myself. Be sure to share this video with your homeless friend. And with that, I bid you adieu. Happy parking, guys. Bye-bye.